Let's talk about the two types of poisonings we see in house fires. Hey guys, it's Nurse Gwenny. Let's talk about the difference between carbon monoxide poisoning and cyanide toxicity. So these are the two types of systemic poisonings that we see in patients that we rescue or that come into the emergency department from house fires. And the first one is carbon monoxide poisoning. Listen, I'm sitting here eating my breakfast this morning, and what I really want to have for breakfast is this mega pack of Reese's peanut butter cups. But I know that that's not going to fuel my body and give me the things that I need. So instead, I'm having oatmeal and a hard-boiled egg because I'm old. I have to eat healthy now, right? Now, I have a much higher affinity for these Reese's peanut butter cups, but my body really needs these things. So if left to my own devices, I would choose the Reese's peanut butter cups every single time. And that's what your hemoglobin does with oxygen and carbon monoxide. It wants that carbon monoxide, but it's totally toxic to the patients. And so when the body has the option, when we breathe in carbon monoxide and oxygen, every single time, it's 200 times higher affinity. The hemoglobin wants the carbon monoxide more than the oxygen. And then our patients have no oxygen to be able to perform aerobic cellular metabolism, which we have to do all the time because we have this energy hungry organ right here in our heads, and we have another one right here in our chest that have to work all of the time, and they require energy as well as the rest of our body that needs energy. These two are just energy hogs, and they clamor it up all the time. So that's carbon monoxide toxicity. Now, it's important to note, if you're relying on your SpO2 for your patients with carbon monoxide poisoning, this is a liar, liar, pants on fire. Because remember the video I did about looking at the buckets and you can't tell what is in the bucket, you can just see how full it is? That's what the SpO2 monitor here does. It just looks at the hemoglobin to see if it's loaded up with something. It doesn't differentiate between oxygen and carbon monoxide. And so you're going to have to look clinically at your patients. If their carbon monoxide, their carboxyhemoglobin is starting to climb, it'll start with some headache and dizziness and some nausea, and it can advance to seizures or complete unresponsiveness. So you're not relying on your SpO2 probe, you're relying on the mechanism, did they just come out of a fire, and their clinical presentation. Now, how we're going to treat that? All of the oxygen, every molecule of oxygen you can find, dump it on these patients, all right? You're not putting them on a nasal cannula at 2 liters. No, you're putting them on a non-rebreather, and you are cranking that flow meter up until that ball is slammed against the top of that little glass vial on your flow meter. You're giving them all of the oxygen that you can find, and that will help the body to get rid of some of the Reese's peanut butter cups and start picking up some of the oatmeal that the body can actually use. Now, the other thing we see from these house fire patients is cyanide toxicity. Now, with cyanide toxicity, there's still going to be oxygen on these hemoglobin. It's still going to load up with the things that it needs, but the problem is, it's like it takes this tape here and puts it over my mouth. I've got my healthy breakfast available, but I just can't eat it. The mitochondria can't use the oxygen. Okay, so where does cyanide toxicity come from? Obviously, carbon monoxide is a chemical byproduct of the burning process, but cyanide comes from things like mattresses, cushions, furniture burning in a house fire. Now, same thing, we don't have a reliable tool to measure this pre-hospitally. And even in the hospital, we don't have a test that we can administer. We look at this based on the clinical presentation, right? And oftentimes, these two toxicities go together. Now, all of the oxygen is the treatment for your carbon monoxide poisoning, but the treatment for cyanide toxicity is going to be a cyano kit. And you'll see it here. Now, these are relatively low risk. So even if you have a patient from a house fire and you don't know if it's carbon monoxide toxicity or cyanide toxicity, but either way you can tell this patient is really super duper sick and you need to do something, you can actually give this with low risk even if it was just carbon monoxide poisoning, because these poisonings often happen together, right? It's oftentimes that people have both carbon monoxide and cyanotoxicity. The only problem with this guy is that it is insanely expensive, and it's pre-hospitally. It's usually only carried on like the chief's buggy at the fire department, or there's one vial for the entire department to share. But it works best when you give it super early. So you're not relying on your SpO2 probe, you're relying on your clinical assessment of your patient. You're treating them early with all of the oxygen for carbon monoxide poisoning and a cyano kit for your suspected cyanide toxicity. And there you have it, how to take care of patients you rescue from a house fire.